This cat almost died shrink-wrapped to a UPS box sent 500 miles away. But before we start, please take a moment to give this video a like, subscribe to HappyWorld, and hit the bell so you'll never miss these great stories. They say cats have 9 lives, but we're guessing that the cat we're talking about today might have used at least 8 in this epic 4-day nightmare. It's hard to imagine how Joey, a Siamese kitten, managed to survive being accidentally shrink-wrapped to a UPS box, but we'll try to figure it out as we explain this crazy story. First, let's meet Kirk. Texas man Kirk Williams wanted to start a new life in Memphis, Tennessee. He would have to leave behind many things that were important to him, including his rescue pets. Kirk had owned rescue cats throughout his life. He was always a gentle, caring man. Once he got to Memphis and started looking for a new cat to adopt, he got news that was music to his ears. Once Kirk was in Memphis, he found a weeks-old kitten named Joey up for adoption. This kitten held particular meaning to Kirk as well. Joey looked just like one that he used to own, a blue-chip Siamese. He knew right away that he had to take the opportunity and bring the cat into his warm, loving home. It seemed like he'd made the right call, but it would prove difficult. The Park Avenue Animal Hospital had a strict vetting process. There would be a long line of potential owners, and Kirk was new to the city. None of this stopped him from calling the hospital, though. He knew there was something special about Joey, but he couldn't quite put his finger on it. Turns out the hospital had a very particular reason for being as careful as they were. Joey's breed is naturally curious and is the living example of that old cliche about what curiosity does to cats. Turns out he'd snuck into a Chicago UPS packaging facility. A sudden machine sound frightened him, so much so that he jumped into a terrible trap. This was the last thing he would expect to happen to him, and almost the last thing that he would ever do. Ever. Joey got shrink-wrapped. Yes, he fell onto the belt and got stuck, legs spread flat against the box for 4 days. He was delivered from Chicago to Memphis, well over 500 miles. Sure enough, the delivery driver heard meowing and had to think quickly. This driver knew just the perfect place to go of all the places in the world. That's how Joey wound up at the Park Avenue Animal Hospital. Thank goodness they were able to help him. He was on the verge of death, no food or water, weakened legs, and a bad plastic smell. Joey wouldn't let anybody touch him, especially not for a bath. It took quite a while, but despite his trauma, Joey recovered from his injuries. Then there was the question of whether he could even be adopted in his mental state. That's when a familiar face showed up. Kirk was the first in line for Joey. 30 people waited at the hospital, yet Kirk managed to beat all of them there. It was such a beautiful moment when Kirk got to hold Joey for the first time. But it didn't feel like the first time to Kirk. He knew that he had to do one more thing in order to make this official. Kirk renamed the kitten and brought him to a loving forever home. His new name? Mr. Shrink. Kirk thought that his new name suited the kitten's background story so much more than Joey. In Memphis, Kirk and Mr. Shrink lived happily together. But there were still so many unanswered questions about Mr. Shrink and how he got himself into all this. Why was Mr. Shrink in a UPS packaging facility? Who let him that close to the packaging machines? How did nobody notice? Should UPS be liable for this? Should they be fined or punished? How could the people who were loading the shipment not have noticed that a cat was shrink-wrapped against one of their boxes? But most importantly, who the heck was Joey's original owner and why didn't they ever look him up? That question is quite easy to answer. It doesn't matter. Fate, in its mysterious way, brought Joey to a new forever home in the most incredible, perfect way possible. It's safe to say that Mr. Shrink will stay away from Amazon packages and the like whenever they show up on Kirk's doorstep.